Hello and welcome back. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Let's use a very, very helpful visual image today of a bridge. And that's the title here. And what we're going to talk about is this gap that appears to exist between where we are, so we think, here in the world, and where we want to go. Home, heaven, something like that. There appears to be a gap between the two. In fact, there is no gap, but because we're convinced that there is, let's roll with this very, very helpful analogy today. We appear to be here in the world two selves in conflict. Pretty much. We're hot and cold, we're up and we're down, we're high and we're low. We feel great 1 minute, horribly the next, in rapid, exhausting succession, like a roller coaster that goes on, and that you don't seem to be able to get off of. That's what it feels like. We feel torn between our self with a lowercase s, little ego, individual self, and self with a capital S, who we really are. We feel torn and we feel a pull, interference, static, and conflict between our two selves, which explains our mood swings. I mean, it does. It explains our sometimes violent reactions to things and our beautiful, loving, forgiving, kind actions, on the other hand, and life appears to contain them all. And there's a very helpful visual image that is quite common in life of a couple of beings on your shoulder. One, a devil-like being, urging you to judge and blame, right? Judge, blame. Yeah, your brother's wrong. Get him. Get him. Take his stuff. He's going to get you. Fight first. Preemptively strike. Right? That voice. And then an angel on your other shoulder whispering loving words to you constantly. We appear to be so torn. And what we're invited to do as spiritual students is to bridge this imaginary gap. Yes, I said imaginary gap. We're using in our conversation today the image of a bridge that spans, let's say, a deep, dark moat or a canyon or a body of water. Maybe there are nasty, jagged, pointed rocks at the bottom, or maybe there's a river full of crocodiles at the bottom or something. Our imaginations are certainly capable of running amok on us, but we stand on little self side and we want higher self side. We're invited to bridge that gap. And again, it's an imaginary gap. We all want to be on the other side, to cross, so to speak. That is why we're all interested in spirituality. For that exact reason, we hear the call of our inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, which goes out to us all of the time. So at some point over here in our mass confusion, we've had moments of levity. We have. You've had many of them, many, or you would not be here, for sure. You've had moments of clarity and relative peace where you heard the call to awaken, to cross the bridge, and you answered it. Thank you and welcome. If you are a long time course student, a beginning course student, or anyone in between, anywhere in between, or if you've never studied a course in miracles, welcome. What is directly relevant here is the fact that this is a self-study curriculum. We go at our own pace. We take as many steps along the bridge as we're willing to take at a given time, on a given day, under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, our inner teacher. You may hear me refer to this teacher as our inner teacher a lot, and I stress and emphasize inner. A Course in Miracles, by the way, as a self-study curriculum, is not hierarchical. I'm not in charge of you, for which I'm deeply grateful. I mean, right? And let's all be very happy about that. And what you see before you is merely a pixelated image on your screen. Really, it is. It's an assemblage of electronic dots constellated in the shape of a middle-aged man from Arizona. In the United States and North America, it's nothing. When something lands for you, it's your inner teacher talking to you. So, over the course of a 15 to 20-minute conversation, it's highly likely that you'll get more than one message, but whatever the case may be, you'll hear what you're meant to hear, and something will land for you. It was meant to land. It is your inner teacher speaking to you. You'll know when that hits you. We're invited to bridge this gap. How do we do it? We do it under the guidance of our inner teacher, one act of forgiveness at a time. You know? One expression of love at a time, one moment of giving over our entire experience over to our inner teacher for the purposes of healing the mind and bridging this imaginary gap. We're invited to do this. We build the bridge, and it's done a little bit at a time if that's what's necessary. We don't have to be sophisticated, trained structural engineers. All we have to do is exert what this course refers to as a little willingness to teach peace to your brother, a little willingness to extend love, even if all you feel capable of doing right now is smiling at somebody or smiling at your dog or the cat or at your reflection in the mirror. That is equally powerful as a big blanket forgiveness of the world and everything that appears to be on it and in it. The very first sentence of the text of A Course in Miracles, chapter 1, anyway, says, "There is no order of difficulty in miracles. They're all alike, all of them. There is fundamentally no difference between your inviting your inner teacher to guide you in a situation that appears to be really small and forgiving space, time, and every living thing throughout space and time. If all you feel capable of today because of whatever circumstances that you find yourself in, if all that you can do is pat the dog and say, I love you, that is equally powerful as anything else. A miracle is the extension of love. In fact, in our mind, it's any shift, any at all from darkness to light, from fear to love, in other words, from the ego, lowercase s, self, to the Holy Spirit, self with a capital S, who and what we really are. So we all appear to be engaged in this walk. And to use the analogy of a bridge is perfectly appropriate here, isn't it? This walk, this journey across. And you may or may not want to look down. As directed, of course, by your inner teacher. But we're all drawn to, in this analogy, the other side. In fact, there is no other side because this is where we are. We appear to be over here. This is a dream. We're bridging the gap. And as you may have found out, if you've been doing this for a while, you may have found out that once you begin to walk upon the bridge, you discover that it's sturdier than you could ever imagine. And the more you forgive, the more you extend the miracle of love to your brother, the more you recognize you're not actually doing the walking, you're being transported across. You're being lifted and carried. You're being whisked and sped along your way. Such is the power of our inner teacher and the exponential, so-called quantum sometimes, power of true forgiveness. What we're invited to do moment to moment, to bridge this imaginary gap. And as we're transported across, we recognize that there never was any gap to begin with. The gap, the deep dark moat with crocodiles at the bottom, with jagged sharp rocks, is simply part of the dream. It never was. Just like a dream that we have when we're asleep. The images appear real, painfully real sometimes. We see things, we hear things, we interact with different beings and different people, and we appear to violate every law of Newtonian physics, all of them. Our dreams appear quite real, yet when we awaken, we recognize them for what they are. Nothing. They never happened. Same. This imaginary gap, this imaginary separation between self, lowercase s, and self, capital S, never took place. It's a dream from which we're awaking. Hence the term awakening, which is a very apt way to describe realization, liberation, or enlightenment. The reality is, deep down, we all want the peace of God. We all want to awaken on the other side and recognize that all of this never took place. Well, it never took place. This course cuts right to the chase and comes out and says it. The separation, this supposed separation from God, never occurred. So if it never occurred, where are you? And who, by the way, and what are you? as the Son of God, the creation of God. God is the creator. You are, and I am, and we all are the created. By the way, one of us in perfect oneness. We've never left the mind of the creator. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. Ideas leave not their source. Yes, capital S. I invite you to capitalize that and to let that sit. And I hope that it lands. I hope that it lands viscerally and powerfully. And I hope that it inspires you to forgive, that it inspires you to practice. If you've thought about taking up this course, if you've had this book sitting on your shelf for some time, that time may be right now for you to pick it up. Maybe that. Is it time for that? Is it time to give over your entire experience to your inner teacher who will guide you across this bridge lovingly, patiently, and certainly, certainly. Our self, capital S, awaits us on the other side, and we're actually there right now. We discover this as we allow ourselves to be transported. This entire path is about allowing ourselves to be guided, allowing ourselves to be led by our inner teacher as far as we're willing to go on a given day. And then we get up again tomorrow and we allow ourselves to be led as far as we're willing to go again tomorrow. And then the day after, and the day after, until pretty soon you realize you're making a quantum leap. Happens. If you don't believe that it can happen for you, rest assured that it will. Not only can it, it also will. Why? The separation never took place. We're all at one time or another here in this dream of time and space and the earth and human bodies and all of that stuff. We're all going to wake up. You know this is true. It's why we're all drawn to spirituality. Yeah, there appear to be billions of us that aren't drawn to it in any way. So what? You are, and that's what matters. So I invite you to take that next step. You'll be told what that looks like. The Holy Spirit will teach you. He will show you if only you let him. So please let him. I invite questions on this. One of the beautiful things about spirituality, and this is true of any tradition really, is that inquiry is welcome. It's most welcome here. So if you have questions about A Course in Miracles, and if you have questions about spirituality in general, you're more than welcome to ask. Right here in the comment thread on YouTube is, in fact, the perfect place to do just that. So please do. And if you have anything that you'd like to comment on, or even if you just wish to pop in and say hi, I'd be happy to hear from you. If you have not yet subscribed, please do that as well. This is the prompt here in the corner of your screen. Just click that arrow. You'll be invited to join us, and it's an international community. Thank you to those of you who have recently joined. There have been quite a few of you, and several videos appear each week. Again, we're talking about A Course in Miracles. But you do not need to be a course student to benefit, because there's always a message for you from your inner teacher. You'll know what that is when you hear it. So I thank you for tuning in, and tune in again. There'll be several videos next week, and on and on. All right. Thank you, as always, for joining me.